Hi, I'm Adam Geis.
I'm David Lurch.
We're hosts of the EdTech Distilled podcast, which is a part of the Education Podcast Network.
Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at Fresh Air at 5 or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected. Hey, PLN May 30, 2022. It's almost June, people. We got today, tomorrow, and then it's June 1st on Wednesday. Can't believe how fast it has gone. How fast has it gone? It's gone super fast. I've been anticipating and looking forward to the month of May for the past 2 years, as this May I had the privilege of fishing a lot and doing some trout fishing up country, north of where I live, 2-3 hours away, and done lots of day trips and some overnights and caught a lot of fish. And it's been a privilege to be able to do that. I've been crafting, tying flies, and that has been really rewarding to be able to go fishing. But this past weekend, I had the privilege of taking my dad. And my dad is 84, and he's really capable. He's still spry, still on his feet, still able to do a lot of things. My dad is retired and learning stuff and uses a Chromebook and asks lots of questions and asks the same questions over and over. And I'm inspired and encouraged by my dad's use of technology. He's always asking me about the new apps that I use and things like that and how to do things. I asked my dad if he wanted to go fishing. He's like, well, let me think about it. And I'm like, well, what's there to think about? And he was a bit nervous to go because, he didn't want to be a burden. And I was like, come on, stop it, Dad. Stop being like that, And so we planned. And then on Saturday morning, we went fishing. So super fantastic that we could go and spend time together, period. We got to a lake and lines in the water. And we started catching some fish. It was like super awesome. We weren't trolling. We were, hanging our stuff down 40 feet down, and fish were biting it. We're fly fishing. And so it's pretty technical. Well, I make it technical because it is. And he caught a fish. And my dad, he started crying as he's bringing the fish in. I'm like, what's wrong? He goes, oh, it's just overwhelming. And I'm like, okay, that's super cool. So I got to spend time with my dad. All right, so there you go. Don't take your dads for granted. Those of you that don't have your dads, I'm sorry. And talk to you soon. Okay, bye. One more thing for May 30, 2022. This morning as I walking, I just reflected on taking my dad fishing and the privilege that it was to take him fishing. Our reflection process is really, really important. That's why I record this podcast, so I can reflect on the learning that I do in the mornings. But, also a place that I can write some stuff down and put it down, not write it, but speak it and have it archived, like my thoughts about my dad there. I listened to an episode of Just a Teacher podcast with Trav Golter out of Australia, and he brings us an episode with Becky Keane. I don't know the episode number right here, but it's part A of a two-parter, and I'm going to listen to part B tomorrow morning as I get out for my walk. And Becky Keane, I want to say that your story is inspiring about how you stepped in and you wanted to be a teacher and how you wanted to make a difference in kids' lives and how this isn't just a job for you, but it's a passion. I can hear that exuding as you talk, and that's super great. High school was kind of flat, and you had some innovative teachers, but on the whole, it was just their experience. That was my experience. It was just their experience. Guidance counselors, I couldn't even tell you the name of my guidance counselor at school. I hope, guidance counselors, that your kids know who you are, because you're supposed to be giving them guidance on life, counseling sessions, things like that, and bringing them along. Yeah, we got hundreds and hundreds of students, but it's important that we make an impact on every student that comes through our space. I didn't know who my guidance counselors were. I didn't get any direction except to get good grades so then you can go to university. And I think that was the message that I received. Becky Keene is a world leader in technology, digital integration in classrooms. And hearing your story, Becky, about how back in the early days of 2000, you were sending one-to-one devices home with students because you had opportunities provided to you. Take those opportunities, people. All right, I'll be back in just a second. Hang on. One more thing for May 30, 2022. And Becky Keene was a guest on episode 50 of Just a Teacher podcast with Trav Golter. And people, I think you should go take a listen to this. This is significant. This is important about how we reflect on the path that we took to get to where we are today. We all know our paths, but have we taken time to reflect and to tell somebody about our story? It's important to do so. Becky talks about her early days of teaching and how she went to the University of Idaho because they had a great elementary school teaching program there. It didn't go somewhere else. And there was eyebrows raised going, whoa, you're going to University of Idaho. I don't know anything about University of Idaho, but Becky, sounds like you had a rich experience, and that is important. We can go to all these schools that say they have great programs, but it comes down to who's instructing those programs and making a difference for you. I was privileged to have Vandy Britton, who is now the head of education here at the University of the Fraser Valley. Prior to that, she was at Simon Fraser University, where I crossed paths with her as she was my faculty associate, and she was doing some grad work and had the privilege of working with us secondary teachers to grow us into being teachers. And Vandy made a difference in our lives, made a difference in my life. And I want to thank you, Vandy, for the difference that you made, because you drew out of me stuff that I didn't know was there, and allowed me to step into teaching as I am doing now. All right, so I just want to give a shout out there. And Becky, I'm going to have to start following you. I'm going to have to start learning from you. And Microsoft is, I'm familiar. I remember when I was an audiovisual tech back in '89, Microsoft, I think 4.0 came out on floppy disk. It was a 5-inch floppy disk. And I was at a trade show and they had these floppy disks that we could take home and give MS-DOS 4.0 a try. So that was pretty curious. And, I remember those days. Microsoft's got a long history with me. All right. Thanks, Trav. Thanks, Becky. Talk to you guys soon. Bye. The last thing for May 30, 2022, I just listened to episode 2.12 of Prairie Rose Possibilities with Cami Cannikins out of Southern Alberta. And Cami is doing innovative things there in her district. And I'm thankful to know her and have her as one of my longtime listeners. Cami's listened to every episode, she tells me. So thank you so much, Cami, for being a faithful listener of Fresh Shirt 5. All right, on to episode 2.12 of Prairie Rose Possibilities. Cami heads to Oyen, Alberta, where she goes to the Oyen High School, South Central High School, and talks with Sarah Hagan about the Junior Badgers baseball academy that they have there for grades 7 to 9. They have a senior Badgers baseball academy that draws from all over Canada. Students come from all over Canada to go practice and learn baseball there. Like many of our sports academies at our schools have a draw. It's fantastic to see that Oyen has this for baseball. Sounds like it had a nice field house that students can go and practice ball at. Your athletes can go practice their baseball at in the winter months, because Oyen's in Alberta and it's winter a lot there. So that's great to see. Heard from a couple students about the impact that the baseball academy is making in their days, and something to look forward to. Grade 7 student Kaylin and Dyson, I think his name was, in grade 9. Yes, I think these opportunities are important and significant because it allows us to meet students who may not be the academically inclined, direction bent to have a place in school that they can belong, and a trajectory that we can encourage them in their interests. My son went through the careers program at the Abbotsford School District here where I'm at, and it was a great success. It wasn't an academy, but it was a way of getting kids into trades and partnering with the local university. Thanks, Cammie. Thanks, Sarah, and students. Have a great day. Bye. Tuesday, May 31, 2022. Good morning, PLN. Hope you're all doing well. I'm up this morning and a change. I put my glasses on today. I don't know why. I don't need to see anything, but I did. And so I'm out for fresh air at 5. It's overcast, but not raining. 9 degrees Celsius. Weather's getting better. And yesterday evening, I was out in a t-shirt outside. You know, it's the end of May. It should be like really warm by now, but I don't know. Climate change, all that stuff. It's changing how our weather is, or at least for right now. So do we say climate change if it's like 1 year worth? No, we don't. We got to see a trend. Okay, enough about that. This morning as I'm walking, I listened to part 2 or part B of the interview of Becky Keane on Just a Teacher podcast with Trav Golter, episode 51. Trav, I didn't say congratulations yesterday on episode 50. You're halfway to 100. That's awesome. That's fantastic. You know, hitting these decade numbers is quite significant for myself right now, and I'm into episode 75 of Fresh Air at 5, which is 3/4 of the way to 100. Super awesome to hit these milestone markers. It's a way to gauge progress and see that you're making forward movement, and hopefully people are listening. I'm listening. I'm sharing your story and the stories that you have on Just a Teacher podcast with my community through my Twitter dailies and on my podcast. So yes, Becky, good to connect with you yesterday, and thanks for taking a listen to my little blurb. You know, your journey about tech integration and pushing reminds me a bit of mine, but I don't know. Some days it doesn't seem like I'm seeing that success, or maybe you said yours is a Christmas card story that you're telling here compared to what the reality is. So I'm in the reality right now as we are transitioning from Google to Microsoft. I'd like to talk to you probably a little bit about some of your experience, maybe, and I'm going to share this with our digital learning department so that they can listen along as well. Thanks all for your stories. Appreciate it. Have a fabulous Tuesday. Bye. The last thing for May 31, 2022, the last thing for this May. Can't believe May's over today. Wow, it's just gone, June's going to be flying. A lot of things going on, graduation, year end, wrap up classes, marking, final exams, start summer session, transition from Moodle to D2L with our courses, go live June 20th, all kinds of things like that. So it's going to be busy. All right, I just wrapped up listening to, well, actually, I've only listened to part of episode 221 of House of Ed Tech, and only got that done to the point of halfway where Chris starts talking about how to start a podcast club in your school. And I got distracted because Chris's Ed Tech thought his recommendation was about Twitter audio recorder and how we can record audio and attach that to our tweets, as opposed to having me to need to use video, or the fact that we can put an audio file in there instead of having those that are possibly visually impaired be able to engage with Twitter in a different way. So I did a test. I tried it out, and I'm waiting on Chris's feedback, because as I pressed the record button, it didn't give me a timer, so I didn't know how long I was talking. Right now, I'm at 1 minute and 35 seconds in this video, and so I know that 220 is coming up pretty soon, so I have to stop soon. But the Twitter audio recorder didn't give me that indication, but that's okay. We're going to learn about this. This is learning today, and the next step is, can I download that audio to use it in my podcast? If I can, I'll have that segment, those segments that I recorded, and that rambling on in my podcast for episode 75 of Fresh Air 5. All right, have a fabulous day, everybody. It's the second day of the week. Week's already flying. Things are moving. It's all good. Going on a field trip on Thursday with our grade 9 to 12 students. We're going kayaking. Gonna be good. Have a great day. Okay, bye. Hey PLN, June 1, 2022. It's Wednesday. It's the beginning of June. The energy in the air is palpable as we head to school, and things are happening and things are wrapping up, and grad is happening and exams are coming and students are working really hard because deadlines are happening and all kinds of things like that are going on. We've got our yearbooks that we produced in my Media Design 11-12 class, so that's exciting, something to look forward to. We're having our first ever school dance because we're a virtual school with a blended program, and homeschool-like kids come to our building that are home-based learners, and so they're only in the building 2 days a week and even 1 day a week. We're having a school dance, which is going to be super fun and super awkward because, well, yeah, you know how it is. So that's going on. A lot of fun stuff going on, and the energy is palpable to me. There's months in the year where I'm anticipating things, and September is one of them. June is another, and I think, February, as well as we do a semester change, is also one of those times where we have, a lot of big things going on. But June, definitely super excited. Look at this weather behind me. I'm gonna put some pictures up here, right here, so you can see the sunrise this morning as I was walking and got up, and man, the sunrise was beautiful. The sun is up now and it's 13 degrees Celsius, and I'm actually wearing shorts as I'm walking, which is a first for this year because May was one of our coldest Mays on record. Okay, enough about that. Chris Nessie, all right, listen to the second part of the House of Ed Tech as you talk about podcasting and all of the goodness going on with podcasting at the Zebra Podcast Network in your school. Thanks for sharing. I really appreciate that. I really dig the Google Meet share about using your webcam or your phone as an external camera through Google Meet. I've done that so that I can have a whiteboard as I'm talking to students over Google Meet. So I turn on my iPad to that. All right, gotta go. Bye. One more thing for June 1st, 2022. I was just talking about June and how I'm excited about it. So back to episode 201 of the House of Ed Tech. Chris, I didn't give you enough airtime on that one. So here we are. You talked about the podcast network at your school. I really think that's a great idea. I'm going to bring this to our digital ambassadors meeting today, this episode, because I think it's something that's possible, obviously, in our schools. It's not huge, but it's if we're given the right space and the right people, we can have podcast networks and podcast opportunities for our students where they weren't there before. Yet another medium for communication, and whether you broadcast them or they're for school projects, it's still possible for students to get a taste of doing audio recording and some light audio editing in schools. So I'm going to share that with our digital ambassadors today, Chris. And Gary Taves, shout out to him, our digital learning vice principal, who's going to be leading that meeting. And so looking forward to that. I've got microphones in my classroom that I have not used because, well, the pandemic happened when you buy microphones and you can't get together to do these kinds of things. But I think I'm going to do a podcast this coming year, an opportunity for my Media 11-12 students, maybe my grade 9s and 10s, to talk about school and what's going on with them. They'll put some fuss up, but I think they'll get into it once they see and hear how it can go. Let's just give it a try segment where you use Google Meet on a mobile device, allows you to have a camera or whatever's on that device to be shared. I've used PDF Express on my iPad as a whiteboard so that I can share my teaching and working with students over Google Meet. So when I'm having one-on-one support meetings with students, I can write on it, and then I can take that document and even share it out. So that's a way to share your content that you're writing and working on. All right, great ideas. I should send you, let's give it a try, talk about our yearbook and what we did with that. All right, talk to you later. Okay, bye. One more thing for June 1, 2022. Wow, it's pretty cool to hear an episode where they talk about the past, and there's a transition in a podcasting team, and the EdTech Takeout episode 107 documents this transition period going on for the EdTech Takeout as Jonathan Wiley is stepping out of his current position and his opportunity to podcast with Mindy and Mindy Carney, the co-hosts of the EdTech Takeout. They sit down and they talk about Jonathan moving out and what's going to happen with the podcast and will it continue or not. And the good news is the EdTech Takeout is going to continue. Jen Giffen, one of your favorites, and you were a guest on that show. So that's great news. And Mindy, you know what? You're going to do a fantastic job and find another host to work with you and to bring us EdTech nuggets. I like the nuggets. I've only been a short time listener of your podcast for a little bit, and I'm excited to keep on listening. And Jonathan, you know, it was great to hear your voice and to hear and see your inspiration and what you said about how you got the podcast started. You were sitting around having a meeting and thought, maybe we should start a podcast, and Mindy was the only one out of the digital learning team that stepped forward at that moment in time. She says because her calendar was kind of empty, that she had nothing else to do, that she might as well. And what a great thing. You guys have a legacy. You have a voice in EdTech podcasting that people come to and listen to. And I appreciate what you have done and just your modeling of how you have brought podcasting to the fore in your community space. Something that I think we can all do in our community spaces. What do you do for work? How can you leverage audio to share your passion for your job and your career and what's going on in your schools? All right, so with that, Jonathan, take care of you. We'll see you around. Maybe, and you're going to be listening, and Mindy, I'm going to keep on listening to the EdTech Takeout and Tech Nuggets with you. All right, bye-bye. The last thing for June 1, 2022. So today is the 1st of June, and a little bit ago, I had a reach out from Jeff Gargis of Teach Better Team to see if I wanted to be on Brain Break. I looked at the calendar and selected today. So this afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern time on Twitter, if you follow Teach Better Team and Jeff Gargis, there's going to be a post about Brain Break. It'll be on their network somewhere. I'm not exactly sure, but I encourage you to listen and follow. So that's going to be this afternoon. I'm going to be having an interview with Jeff. And what are we going to talk about? Not sure, because there's no script at this point. But that's all good. We'll talk about education, life, transition, changes, probably my podcast a little bit. We'll see. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited to hear how it goes after it's done. All right, without further ado, have a fabulous Wednesday. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Hey PLN, it is Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. Out for fresh air at 5 this morning after I've had a full day of rich goodness yesterday. And one of those things that happened yesterday was the K-2s, they released their butterflies, and got to capture that with pictures and video, and so exciting to see their enthusiasm as they look at nature and watch something fly away that they spent time caring for over the past number of weeks and has grown. So yeah, we went from caterpillars to butterflies. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, so yesterday afternoon at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern time, I was privileged to hang out with Jeff Gargis and Dave Schmitto on Teach Better Talks Brain Break in the afternoon. And so I got to hang out with them. We were on StreamYard, It's been recorded. It's on all of the networks and Facebook, Twitter, places like that. You can find the link to the video, and I've also put it in my tweet from yesterday. But I was privileged to be a guest on their show, and so and what was curious is that it was the final brain break of the year, of this school year, and they're taking a break now for the summer. So it was great to hang out with them. We talked everything from changing temperature from degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit, because I'm here in Canada and they're in the States. We talked about fly fishing. We talked about transitions in learning management systems and in operating systems from Google to Microsoft. And so just a big shout out to Dave Schmittou and Jeff Gargis for the work that they're doing in inspiring educators. Teach Better Conference is happening in October. You can go check that out on their website. And I won't be able to go. My wife's going on vacation at that time, so I'm home taking care of the kids. But yes, fantastic conference coming, and lots of power educators are going to be there making a difference in each other's lives. All right, so thanks, Teach Better. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you. Bye. One more thing for June 2, 2022. As I'm out continuing, I listened to the 10-Minute Teacher podcast with Vicki Davis. You need a quick podcast? Take a listen to Vicki talk with guests about different topics, and they're quick. A little longer than 10 minutes, Vicki, but it's close to 10 minutes, so that's really good. No, it's short. This morning, as I was listening on to 784th episode, you talked with Dean Sharesky, the author of Creating a Culture of Joy, and he talked about joy and how joy should be a part of what you do, and you should look for those moments. Joy is related to happiness, but it's not about being giddy and laughing all the time, but it's about that little smile that turns up on your face when you see something. Like, I don't know, like when you walk into school and a student says hi to you, or a colleague does something for you, or the coffee barista hands you the coffee and says, I hope you have a great day. And things like that are not earth-shattering things, but for you, they are a big deal. And others might not notice them. You know, and Dean, you talked about having sadness and joy at the same time, dealing with the heaviness in the world, but also at the same time, not letting that overshadow and take away your joy. Doesn't mean that we ignore the sadness. Ukraine right now is the big one right now going on. It's also, people with, the pandemic and still nervousness to go out and things like that. But, balancing that for yourself with what's going on with your marriage. How are you doing? Like, what's the fun things happening? And how do we share our joy and how people react to our joy? So take a listen to 784th episode of the 10-Minute Teacher podcast. Be encouraged and find that joy. Some of my joy, walking in the morning, seeing the streetlights go out as I'm walking because the days are getting longer. Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Vicki. Have a great day. The last thing for June 2, 2022, I just listened to episode 57 of the High Tech Podcast with Will and Josh, and they bring us a captivating discussion about how we have dialogue with one another, and some research that came out of Penn State University's psychology department with a professor that I can't remember the name of, but it is a discussion protocol called Create. And you should listen to this episode because it's a bit beyond my understanding at the moment. But they talk about how we have synchronous online discussions and how we are equitable with each other when we do so. And there's a tool built in-house at Penn State University that does the metrics of who's talking, how long they're talking, things like that, and looks at the metacognition of having a conversation and why we say the things that we do. And yes, so I thought it very interesting. It opened my mind a little bit more to what's beyond the urgent of survival right now in June. It's good. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. And then at the end of the episode, you brought us the app called Threadit, which is a Google product that Google has developed, and it's a very light and simple video-based discussion tool that you could have a thread with someone and go back and forth with video to have a conversation. Kind of like Voxer, it sounds like to me, but Voxer is audio and this is a video chat. So you can screen share, you can engage with each other in a different way. Yeah, you can do this with Flipgrid, but Flipgrid might be a little bit on the elementary side and have too much stuff actually that goes along with it, as opposed to just, here's my thoughts, here's a video, and what are your thoughts? Well, let's see your video. And it, yes, it simplifies the video discourse project, asynchronous problem. All right, so take a listen to that. Thanks all. Hey, it's been a great walk. Glad you're here with me taking a listen, and shout out to everybody that I mentioned. Bye-bye. Hey, PLN, later on Thursday, June 2nd, 2022, out delivering papers, and this is the last afternoon of paper delivery as my daughter has decided to quit the job because, well, she hasn't been delivering papers a whole lot because of injury and rugby and being tired, and I've done a lot. So she's like, Dad, I think it might be time. And I said, okay. So I'm going to miss my afternoon walk and the extra $10 a month that I get from helping my daughter with papers. Yes, I do take her money. But yeah, it's been good, and I'm glad to be out here doing this. This afternoon, as I'm out walking, I listened to what I listened to. I listened to episode 5 of the EdTech Distilled podcast, and with Adam and Dave, and they had on Dr. Krista Wells. The title is Working Harder, Not Smarter. No, Working Smarter, Not Harder, not the other way around. Yes, and she talked about being a librarian and how technology is an imperative part of a library learning commons space, because the students need to understand how to use technology, how to get around, how to do things, because we live in a digital world now that requires a whole lot more of students than just not, on their devices, and how to do research on their devices, because the books in our libraries are changing the way that we have to present them, and the library is a place to come and to grow our minds outside of possibly the curriculum. But how can we do research? How can we use our tools in our hands to research and learn things and reference and do all that kind of stuff? So that was very excellent. Thank you, Dr. Krista Wells. I'm going to start following you now on Twitter because I have some things to learn. I know a lot of things, but I don't know a lot like you and I think it'd be great for me to learn from you. So you have a new follower later today. Thanks so much, guys. Appreciate it. And yeah, I like the Kraken. I don't have any right now. I'm out walking, but maybe later. Okay, bye. The very last thing for June 2, 2022. Hey, Cammie, hope you're doing well today. I listened to Prairie Rose Possibilities, episode 2.13, which is the Irvine Equine Interaction Program. Prairie Possibilities, as Cammie talks with Carrie Gold, I believe her name is, an educational assistant working with a student in this program. And at Irvine, they have an equine, which is like horse program, working with animals. And but the equine interaction program is a very entry level, working with animals so that students can learn about horses and walk horses and learn to be close to horses without even riding horses. And I think this is fantastic and a great idea. For me, I'd want to be in this program because I'm kind of scared of animals. And, that would kind of bother me if I didn't have a small step. So it's great to hear. And then we heard from Hayden, who's a student in this program, and he said it's a 3 to 4 week program, and it has really helped him with SEL things and being able to manage his emotions and just his comfort level with animals. So that's so fantastic. Thank you very much, Carrie and Hayden, for sharing with us. And I'm way across the mountains from where you are, over by Vancouver in a small town called Abbotsford. It's a farming community. I am a city guy, but we have farms right out there behind us in the Sumas prairies that have lots of farmers' kids, working with animals, dairies and chickens and things like that. So, all right. Thanks so much, Cammie. Thanks, everybody, and have a fabulous rest of your Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Goodbye. Hey PLN, it's Friday, June 3, 2022. You made it to Friday. I made it to Friday. What a week it has been. A lot of stuff going on, good things going on. Yesterday I went kayaking with our secondary students. We took them out to Fort Langley, British Columbia, and we paddled kayaks along the Salmon River. Saw a bald eagle sitting on the rail of a bridge, which why is a bald eagle sitting on the rail of a bridge? So that was pretty cool. We've had meetings about D2L, about Microsoft 365, Microsoft Teams, and how does that work? Because we are moving into that platform in the next year. And yeah, it's been a good week. A lot of things going on. My daughter made rep rugby, so she is going to be representing Fraser Valley East in a tournament coming up soon. Okay, so as I step into recording this daily right here and the tail end of episode 75 of the Fresh Air at 5, I listened to episode, and I can't even remember the number right now, of Partial Credit, where it's called Demarginalizing Design with Dee Lanier. And Jesse, Donnie, and Jeff talk with Dee about design thinking and the way of approaching it, where we need to start with equity as opposed to empathy, because empathy will drive equity. But if we start with empathy, it could have our biases in there, and we will not attend to the problem in a complete and best way. At the top of one more thing for June 3, 2022. All right, so I got cut off because my iPhone became full and it says storage full, can't continue. So I've got a lot of content on my phone, and I had to delete some of it so I could get back to here to talking to you about what I am thinking about. And on episode 95 of the Partial Credit, Jeff, Donnie, and Jesse had on guest Dee Lanier, and talking about demarginalizing design in figuring out how we can be equitable in the way we do design as opposed to empathetic only for a specific situation. So that was heavy in its own right, but their episode starts off with a bigger heavy, which has to do with the Texas shooting in a classroom recently. And you know what? Honestly, I am going to say that this guy vaguely heard about it and was so consumed with the stuff going on here that I didn't pay attention. And that is making me feel pretty bad that I wasn't aware. But what I am hearing and what I am seeing really discourages me, because as an educator, I don't want to have to go to school with a gun so that I can protect myself against potential other guns in a classroom or in a building. I don't want to do that. I got enough stuff going on that, like have to think about it at that level, that's really heavy. But that's what I'm hearing, and I don't like it. And I'm concerned for my fellow teachers in the United States. And as they navigate and process this summer, how do we step back into school? Are they going to be expected? And is it wise for a teacher to carry a weapon? I'm not even allowed to carry a pocket knife in my classroom because it's considered a weapon. And it's not. It's a tool that's used to cut my apple. It's a tool that's used to open a box. But yes. So thank you guys for bringing that up. Thanks for the thoughts. And hang on, I'll be right back. The last thing for June 3, 2022. Continuing my thoughts on episode 95 of the Partial Credit podcast with Jesse, Donnie, and Jeff, and Dee Lanier, as they talked about the shooting in Texas. I am thinking and praying for sensibility in America and in our world. as we have people that have struggles with mental illness and the ability to do things that are bad. And I'm thankful I live here in Canada where I do, that thought of having to carry a weapon doesn't even enter my mind. Okay. All right. Thanks, guys, for the podcast, the thought-provoking conversation. And Carpenter signing off for episode 7-5. That's 3/4 of the way to 100. I'm pretty psyched that I've made it. And thanks for listening and being part of my daily. Go subscribe to my podcast, please. I'd appreciate that. I would make my day. And Apple review, I haven't got any of those, I don't think, ever. Or maybe one way back at the beginning. So if you could do an Apple review for me, that would help spread the word about my podcast a little bit when people search, and would make a difference. All right, have a happy Friday. It's just starting to sprinkle, but only a little bit of sprinkling, and it's nice and warm here where I am. Peace. Bye. As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, Podcasts for Educators, Podcasts by Educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.